Hello again, racing fans. This is Alex Gray here with Steve Risley for the next episode of the NASCAR Show here on The Grueling Truth, where legends speak. We're here to talk about the race at the Tricky Triangle, Pocono Raceway. It was another dominating performance by Kyle Busch. Obviously, you had people making noise for him, whether you liked him or you hate him. Kyle Busch getting his, I believe, his fourth or third career win. I'll confirm that in a second. We've had now about 6 different winners so far this season in the 14 races, matching up from last season. This is Kyle Busch's 4th win of 2019.
Are you introducing me? Are you introducing me now?
Yeah.
I guess you already did. Okay, here's my first question for you: Is Kyle Busch just is the only person that can beat Kyle Busch? Kyle Busch?
Occasionally, you see him. There are times where I think even in the 600 where he was kind of chasing him. And I think this happened to him in Texas too, where he just kind of slipped up and hit the wall. Kyle, this has probably been the most dominant I've ever seen Kyle Busch. Especially spanning across all 3 series. He's had the 4 wins so far in the Cup Series and 14 races. He's had every Xfinity and truck race at least every truck race he's been in, he's won this year. And most of the Xfinity races he's been in, he's won. And, this has been the most dominant I've seen him. So I think that's a fair assessment. Kyle Busch can beat
Is it my opinion, or does he seem to be running fewer truck and Xfinity races, or am I just getting used to him winning so much?
That is because NASCAR actually has a limit that Cup drivers can run certain races.
Oh, they do.
Okay.
Yeah,
that you can run up to 7 in the Xfinity and 5 in truck. So obviously, if that wasn't the case, Kyle Busch probably would have won every race this season from what it feels like. But I guess a lot of people, and of course, there's a lot of mixed conference discussions about that as a whole from dating back to a few years ago. So, I think that's a fair assessment to say that, yes, I think one in particular that can beat Kyle Busch is Kyle Busch himself. But, don't count out these other guys. Obviously, the entire JGR camp has been very strong this year. Eric Jones with a 3rd-place finish. Once again, it's been Penske and Gibbs all season long with the one Hendrick win. Really, really dominating performance by both teams. Both teams even have the one guy who hasn't won a race yet. I've pointed out that Ryan Blaney has yet to get a checkered flag this season, same with Eric Jones, but both of them have come close. Blaney, kind of silent, finished 12th, while Logano was 7th for Team Penske there. And as you're probably going to bring this up here too, no wins for Stewart-Haas Racing yet, which is, to me, kind of surprising, especially that at this point, Kevin Harvick had won half the races to start the season last season.
Well, Alex, I think this is the story of the season so far, truthfully. I mean, I don't think I don't know that we can go. I mean, we expect Kyle Busch and JGR to be up there. Penske and Keselowski and Logano are great drivers, and Blaney's a great driver. He's going to win. Elliott and Hendrick are I think the Chevy package is still a little behind everybody else. But I think the story of the season right now is Stewart-Haas Racing with no wins, 14 races into this season on a 36 race season.
Yeah, and we're halfway through the regular
wins. Season. Yeah, I mean, and really, truly, I can't think of a race, including Kevin Harvick, where they were really in contention in the last 10 laps to win the race. Was there one? I'm 60 years old, so I'm starting to get, whatever you get at 60 years old. But I can't think of a race where I'm going, because I picked Harvick a lot. I'm thinking they got to break out of this slump at some point in time. I was going to stick with them until they do. Have they been in contention? What's going on with Stewart-Haas Racing? Is Tony just too happy to be in the Hall of Fame? He's done now?
No, I don't think that's the case.
The F1 team's doing better. The F1 team's doing pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, overall, there are times they've been in contention. Boyer finishing fifth. Daniel Suarez has been doing much better this season. He's actually performed pretty decently in his first season.
They're doing fine. They've got the best equipment in the world. They got Ford backing, but they're not winning.
Yeah, and Harvick's the highest in points that hasn't won a race yet this year. It kind of, as I said before, it's kind of similar to Joe Gibbs Racing back in 2017 of the Toyota camp, which was pretty much them and Furniture Row. Truex was winning all the races, and up until, let me look this up, 2017 real quick. But I remember for a pretty good first chunk of the season, Gibbs didn't win a race. Let's see here. Yeah, going through, it wasn't until I think Hamlin winning at Loudon. Yeah, Hamlin winning at New Hampshire, and that was the 19th race of the season where a JGR car finally won a race, and then Kyle Busch at Pocono, and then Kyle Busch, and then more Kyle Busch, and Matt Kenseth as well. But, that's what it kind of reminds me of when I look at Stewart-Haas Racing, especially obviously in the Ford camp. Penske's been the dominant team. But yeah, Stewart-Haas, they're going to get a win at some point. I mean, Harvick's going to sneak in something. I think Boyer can get a win. Honestly, all four of those drivers can win something, can win this season. So that's what I'm comparing Stewart-Haas right now. And even last year, you can throw in Hendrick. It took until Watkins Glen for Hendrick to grab a win with Chase Elliott, who was the only guy who won races with him last year. He won 3 races. So comparing the last 2 seasons, that's kind of where I see Stewart-Haas right now.
Yeah, I think they're all eventually going to win. I'm just amazed at how long they've gone. 14 races into this, and like I said, I don't know that they've been competitive for a win. They've been competitive for top 5s, and you never see a finish that doesn't have a couple of SHR cars in it. But I don't know what they're just not closing the deal. One of the things that just keeps coming up race after race is tire wear. And I'm hearing all kinds of beef on right front tires, the right side of the car, pushing up, going uphill. Couple of questions for you with the knowledge that you have. Side drafting. Is that changing the wear and tear on the tires? Because we're so used to bumper-to-bumper drafting or tagging people in the back. Now you're getting a lot more of the drivers here. I'm talking about Aero. This new Aero package is really tied more to side drafting and pushing cars up the racetrack. When they slide up the track, is that putting the wear and tear on the tires? And the question for you, part 2 of that question is Goodyear keeping up with the Aero packages and technology of what NASCAR is doing to make races more competitive? Good question, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a really good question.
Thank you. I thought of that for a few hours.
I'll answer this the best way that I can. Once again, I see where you're coming from. I think, with the Aero package and the way they've been racing this season has certainly changed a lot of how we've been seeing racing in the past several years. While I'm not 100% certain, I would say that I think that is a possibility that the side drafting can affect the wear and tear on tires. If you remember the Coca-Cola 600 just a couple weeks ago, you saw a bunch of guys having right side tire issues. I think was it Jones that hit the wall, DiBenedetto hit the wall, Truex hit the wall, but he came back and won.
I think all the JGR cars hit the wall at some point in time. I think all of them did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
We talked about that on our last show. I mean, is it all the JGR cars smacked the wall and had to come in and get fender work done at some time?
Maybe the walls just really liked how the cars looked. I don't know. Sorry, bad joke. But anyway.
Paint schemes.
Yeah, I love the patriotic paint schemes. But anyway, good question there. And, there could be a possibility that Goodyear may struggle with keeping up with things, especially with the Gen 7 car coming soon. They've probably been in those discussions too, like, okay, how are these cars possibly going to affect how the tires wear down? And, of course, it also comes down to the track. Obviously, Pocono, very big, very wide open. Each 3 of the turns are different. They're all designed after different tracks. I think one of them was based off of Milwaukee Mile, and the other one was based off of Trenton. But, Yeah,
I think one's based off Indy. I think one's based off Indy too, where they have the short chute and the two parallel corners. Yeah, I think turn 1 and 2 are based off Indy, and then I didn't know if the trioval was kind of based off that. Yeah, I've heard that story too. That the guy the doctor that built that track built it with a homage to 3 of the greatest racetracks that he knew of at that point in time.
Yeah. Turn 1, 14 degrees, modeled after Trenton Speedway. Turn 2, the tunnel turn, modeled after Indy. And then turn 3 with 6-degree banking, modeled after the Milwaukee Mile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which makes for a great track. And I think what's great about Pocono is that I think it puts the onus on the driver to drive that car, because you have to shift, you have to brake, you have to drive the car. This is not like Daytona where you or I could probably sit there by ourselves. I wouldn't want to do it with 40 other idiots on the track with me, but we could probably muster that car around at 180, 190, 200 miles an hour, because basically Daytona or Talladega, those cars will drive themselves. I mean, like I said, it's incredibly different with 39 other idiots, wanting to win the race too, than it is being out there by yourself. But Pocono is a track that says you got to shift gears, you got to work your feet, you're going to get hot, you're going to get sweaty. The track's not smooth because they face the winters up in the Pocono Mountains. They get a lot of snow and ice up there that affects the track annually every year. They talk to that to some degree. And the 3 different turns, you don't get in a Department of Redundancy department mentality like you will at some other tracks. You have 3 different things you got to deal with every lap, and that's happening to you every 50 seconds, basically. So you're retooling your brain every 50 seconds while you're shifting gears, while you're trying to get some hydration. Everything goes into this. I love Pocono as a racetrack. I mean, it's a 2.5-mile track. It's kind of stoic in its own mentality, that it's not like a Martinsville or a Daytona where crap's going to happen every time. But generally when crap happens at Pocono, it happens in a big way. And I love the fact that it puts us back in the driver's seat. Now, part 3 of my question that I asked you about Goodyear keeping up, about the side drafting coming into play, and I think you researched this a little bit. It was an off-the-cuff comment that was made by Clint Boyer after the race, where he said he just wishes now that with the way the aero package is working on these cars, that NASCAR would just go ahead and make the move to the composite bodies because they're more durable. And he attributes a lot of the tire blowouts and putting people 2 laps down to the fact that the sheet metal is so thin and so easily bendable and causes so much havoc on a tire if they get into the wall at all. And, the big thing now is to get on a side draft, stick with him. You're going to push him up the track, and then he's going to get in the marbles, and then you're going to be into the wall, and not necessarily for a wreck, just for a scrape. But that scrape causes a tire rub. Your tire goes down 2 laps later. You come in, you get a fresh tire in the green, and you bang it out, and you're 2 laps down. So given the aero package, as part 3 of that question of side drafting, is Goodyear keeping up? Do they need to make stronger right-side tires for these cars? And now the composite body, should NASCAR start entertaining, not waiting till 2020? I think it is 2021 to go to the composite body. When is the Gen 9? The Gen 9 car? Is that what it is?
Gen 7.
Gen 7. When is it? It's 2021, isn't it?
Yeah, they're aiming for 2021.
So that's another whole season under the same package.
Yeah, and of course, making the switch to composite, it's also the ideal of making cost cheaper, because I know that according to Adam Stern, some executives believe that NASCAR teams custom build too many of their parts of their cars unnecessarily, which has led to excessive spending but hasn't improved on-track action. So one of the goals of the Gen 7 project is to move more single-source suppliers to try and reduce spending. And perhaps maybe the composite body could play a factor into that, because if I'm correct, they're kind of toying around with that in the Xfinity Series. That wouldn't be a bad idea. You also mentioned, should Goodyear try and make the right side tires stronger, I would run a test session like you did with the aero package at Las Vegas, like back in January, and not in a race, because that just potentially could spell disaster. I would run 20 cars out there and say, okay, run like 40 laps. Let's see how this works. And obviously it is kind of difficult to do that as well. 36 race schedule. These drivers don't have much really of an off season, the teams especially. So yeah, I think the composite body will definitely be a lot of talk, especially as we head into the 2020s decade. But it's definitely something interesting to think about.
Well, but with the bigger spoilers and the reduced horsepower, they're putting more emphasis on downforce, which means the car is going to handle better.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the air ducts out front. They're going to get, again, that's all part of the aero package that they've gone to and basically kind of just adopted. I would seem to me that Goodyear would need to reconfigure their tires and stay up. And I don't know that they are. I have not heard talk that they are or not, but I keep seeing guys scraping the wall and putting a little bit of decal on it. And 2 laps later, there's smoke coming out of the rear of their tire, and they're coming in, and you're watching Truex 2 laps down. Then he gets into engine troubles. It just seems to be I don't feel like the tires are keeping up with the aero packages right now. So, and if the easy answer is to just go ahead and I mean, I can't. In a nutshell, from your knowledge, the composite body is what? Is it just a molded piece of an example of what a Camaro or a Mustang or a Toyota should look like? And they do it kind of like a funny car situation, where it's just all molded into one piece of carbon fiber. You put it on, you slap it, you bolt it onto the frame, and you run with it. Is that pretty much what it is?
Something like that. Looking up the composite body consists of.
I tried to look it up too. And
shape bodies, because I just want to make sure that I'll obviously get my facts in order.
I know the Xfinity drivers love it. I know the Xfinity drivers love it.
Let's see here. Get out of your pop-up. Okay.
And I don't know the cost savings. Is that important to the Monster Energy series? I don't know. I mean, it is for the smaller teams, obviously. But when you're talking about the guys who are going to win week in and week out, I don't think they really care.
Yeah.
When you look at what Haas is spending in Formula One to finish 8th, 9th, and 10th, Jesus, crime in Italy. With Magnussen.
From this article in 2017, instead of a steel body welded onto the chassis, block and bolt on, making it easier to replace damaged panels. Today's crash in practice that might be an automatic decision to unload a backup car become tomorrow's repair or replacement for an individual panel, a process that could lead teams to keep fewer cars in stock. Furthermore, the process to hang on a composite body will take far less time, an estimated 2 days versus nearly 2 weeks to form, shape, and weld the current steel body style.
Yeah.
So I think eventually, I think the composite body is probably going to be the wave of the future.
I'm going to just harp it for the last time, then we can move on. I think it's with the change in the aero package, they've already implemented a lot of that with great success. I mean, I think the racing this year has been as good as it's been.
Oh, yeah.
Every race is competitive. I still think you see the same teams win, but I think that's an engineering equipment point of view of things. I think it's a talent thing, too. I still think Kyle Busch is still the strongest driver. Logano's up there. Truex is up there. Harvick, SHR, but they're going to get their due. Watch out. They're going to come in, maybe dominate second half of the season for all we know. You never count Kevin Harvick out. I think that Chevy and Hendrick, might have been a little bit too many young guys at one time with Bowman, Elliott, and 24 car. I can't think of his name. Who's driving the 24 car?
The 24 car? That's Byron.
Byron, yeah. But you got Bowman, Byron, and Elliott, and you got a guy who's definitely in the downside of his career. I don't know if they just didn't shift too fast, too quick. And they're rebounding, though, but they're getting more and more competitive. They continue to put 4 cars in the top 10. And we'll talk about the standings here in a minute. So, but I think that NASCAR is making changes in some areas where they need to go ahead and complete the deal. get the tires up to speed, say, okay, we're going to side draft now. It's going to be the way we're going to do this. Move on and get these cars, look at the composite bodies quicker. And so we're not losing drivers, for minor incidents, 1 or 2 laps down. Yeah, okay, you agree entirely. Okay, we're into the 14th race. Is it time we're going to Michigan, which is a unique track?
Yep.
It's kind of a mini super speedway. It's banked very well. It's a fast track. A lot of records have been set there. It's a great track for racing. It's is it a 2-mile track or is it a mile and a half? Is it a 2-mile?
It's 2 miles.
2 miles, yeah. It's one of the few 2-mile tracks we got. But I remember I've been to Michigan, and I'm gonna tell you what. Have you ever been to Michigan? Gone to Brooklyn?
A
racer?
couple times.
Yeah, it's hard to get there, and you're driving through country road. Take me home to the place where I belong. West Virginia, Michigan mountains. Mama, take me home. There's no easy way to get there.
Yeah, for me, it's literally from where I am. I know.
You get on a helicopter and fly up there. You big hitters. You just get on a Bell Jet Ranger and chopper on in, and
Well, I was saying the 4-hour drive on 75. Then you get to Dundee, you get off, and you drive on this 2-lane
road. I know.
20, 30.
There's this track sitting in the. It's like if you build it, they will come. It's right out of
Chicago. It's the same way. That track flying.
It's the same way.
Yeah.
You could make a NASCAR movie out of Field of Dreams for NASCAR, and it would be Brooklyn. It would be Michigan International Speedway. It is nowhere. And, I mean, there are small farmhouses around, and you can buy a bottle of water for $1. You can park in their front yard or their cornfield for $10. I mean, it is amazing.
Right? Easy to get in and easy to get out.
Just a lot of time.
Yeah. Somehow you get out of there quicker than, it takes like 2 hours to move your car at Kentucky Speedway. No offense to you guys. I'm so happy Kentucky has a cup race, but you know what I'm saying. But, we talk about Michigan. Vegas odds to win this race.
Yeah, well, that was part of my question. Well, go ahead. I mean, you want to do odds? I mean, if you want to do odds, I had a broader question I wanted to ask you.
What you got?
The broader question was, you got Michigan, which is a very unique track. There's not a lot of other tracks like it. So, and then you got Daytona coming back up. Then you've got Sonoma coming back up. Is it time for teams and drivers and crew chiefs and owners to start looking at things saying, we're 14 races into this. We are where we want to be or we're not where we want to be. We need to start making some changes. And generally, drivers aren't going to be the one that are changed. But engineers, crew chiefs, car chiefs, packages, the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So Kyle Busch ain't going to fix a lot. But is it time for everybody else now, 14 races into this thing, and we're getting down to, the last 10 races are the playoffs, and there's, 36 races in the season?
Yep.
So we have, 12 races left?
Yeah, we got until the regular season ends. So,
until the regular season ends. So is it time right now for people to start looking at it? We have unique tracks coming up. We got to go back to spacer plate racing. We got to go to road coursing. You got a track like Michigan, which is just its own beast. So are we going to start seeing some changes come up here?
Yeah. Although I could say this, if this was like 2003 with the old system, probably not as much. But in today's NASCAR, yes, you may start seeing teams switch around crews or make certain changes to try and get more of their drivers in victory lane. Because as I said at the start of the show, we've only had 6 different winners so far this season. We've had a lot of repeat winners so far, and I'm sure a lot of guys are going, okay, how are we going to beat Kyle Busch? How are we going to beat Truex? How are we going to beat Keselowski and all these other guys? So you may start, seeing that as we get edge ever closer, through the summer and closer to the end of the regular season.
Yeah, you got some guys, and you have the standings pulled up.
Let me see here. Yeah. Yes, I do. So obviously.
So you got 16, 17, and 18. 17 is Johnson. 18th was who's in 18th? I was trying to look at that. I was looking at something else real different here.
Right now, 17 is Jones, 18 is Newman, 16 is Larson.
Where's Johnson?
Johnson is 14 right now.
Really?
Yeah. I'm looking here on a racing reference here.
Standings. Right. Well, the problem is, yeah, you're right. They run two different standings. Driver standings. But those don't necessarily match. See, in driver standings, Johnson's 17th. That doesn't match up with playoff standings.
Right.
Projected playoffs, yeah. So that's fine. You got a guy like Kyle Larson. I mean, he wins 2 stage points, 2-stage race, 2 stages of the race. And again, FaZe, what's the deal with Kyle Larson? He's one of your boys. You pick him routinely.
Yeah, especially that I figured maybe he'd start clicking after the win at the All-Star race. It looks like he's showing signs. He's not fully showing that, which kind of surprised me. He dropped back to, like, if I'm correct, he dropped way back into, like, the 20s in this race after winning, like, both stages. So the question is, when is Larson finally going to jump over the bump here? He finished 26th in this race when, from what it looked like, he had a winning car at Pocono. So, and Michigan is another favorite track of his. He's won here.
No, he's done well. I think he's won there, hadn't he, before? Had he won there? Right. That's one of the few tracks he's won at, yeah. So, it just seems to me this is getting to be, I don't want to use that phrase silly season, but that's generally reserved for drivers switching seats in the end of the season. But we're getting into kind of put up and shut up time in the NASCAR circles where guys have got to change the. I mean, if you're not in the top 5 or 6, you're gonna have to start making some changes in your cars or your mentality or your approach to going in and maybe going for it more and winning races rather than trying to just accrue points at this point in time.
Right.
Would that be fair? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
only
fair.
6 winners. Only 6 winners. But I know that's about where we were last year too. But that's going to leave a pretty wide open battle for point standings, guys. And that's pretty bunched up down there. I mean, you got Suarez down there who's hot, William Byron who's making Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, although Kyle's in 10th in point standings for the playoffs. So he's probably pretty solid there. You got all of the SHR cars who have yet to win a race. So they're right now, all 4 of them, Harvick, Boyer, Almirola, and Suarez right now are all going to have to qualify on points. And you're ranging in there from Harvick is the first car in without having a win. So he's probably not in any danger in any way, shape, or form. But then you've got some guys down there floating around 15, 16, 17, 18 where a bad day can make you have a bad season real quick now. Are we getting into that point?
Yeah. I think we are getting to that point. It's hard to believe that we're already halfway through the regular season. You got Michigan, Sonoma, Chicago, Daytona, Kentucky coming up. This will be Fox's second to last race of their stint until after Sonoma they'll hand it off to NBC and they'll take it from there. But I lost my train of thought for a second. My bad.
No, we were talking about drivers need to kind of get.
Yeah. Okay.
Doing the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I think you're getting into a group of drivers right now that need to start going out and trying to win races, which I think is great because I think the aero package is great for NASCAR. I think you're going to see a lot more competitive racing in the next 12 races. You got a little more broad variety of tracks to run on. You've got some restrictor plate coming back into play. You got Michigan. You got some road course. It's gonna create different opportunities for different people. I think NASCAR is just definitely on the right track here.
Yeah, especially with Sonoma, they're going back to their old layout too in time for their 50th anniversary. So Yeah, I think, it's time to start making your moves if you're guys like Amarola, Boyer, Harvick, Byron, all these guys. It's time to start making something happen and get yourself in victory lane and secure yourself into the playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt. What do you expect at Michigan?
I think we're going to have a really good race. I think the air package is going to do pretty well at Michigan, in my opinion. You're going to see a lot of
I think it's tailor-made for Michigan.
Yeah, 4 or 5 wide racing. Expect that. I think we're going to
side drafting. It's a wide track. It's banked well. It's kind of a mini Daytona. I mean, they can run 200 miles an hour on that track if they need to. Easily. But it's 2 miles, not a mile and a half. So that extra half mile gives you a little more space for the straightaways and things like that. A little softer corners. I think it's going to be a great race. What do you see coming out of this?
I think there's certainly the possibility of a first-time winner this season. I think you'll see a lot of 4 or 5 wide racing, a lot of high speeds, a lot of drafting and side drafting, as you said. You got the 600 was crazy. I think this Michigan race is going to be really exciting. This is probably one of the tracks I'm super excited for. See how this package does. Of course, I won't get into the picks to win just yet. I know Vegas had some odds for the Firekeepers Casino 400. 11-4 for Kyle Busch. Not surprising. I'm sure he's the pick to win every race right now. Followed by 5-1 for Harvick, 6-1 for Truex, 8-1 for Keselowski, 10-1 for Chase Elliott and Joey Logano, 14-1 for Larson, 16-1 for Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney and Clint Boyer with a 20-1 odd.
Yeah, the odds don't mean. The odds mean more to me if you're running a foot race where it's Jesse Owens against Carl Lewis, where it's just 2 guys. When you get into a car situation where you got tires, you got other 38, other 37, 36, 40 other drivers on the track, however many you're going to run at Michigan. There are so many variables that, to me, the odds can't predict. I mean, Busch could be running fine, and all of a sudden Boyer and one of the RHR cars, which seem to be wreaking havoc on everybody these days, Stenhouse and Dillon, they just get into a wreck and you get caught up in it, and you're not even any fault of your own. So I don't know. I look at performance there. I say at Michigan, we'll make our predictions. I know, but I got one driver that I think is going to bust out. I think he is. Before we get there, Chase Elliott's he's had like five or six top 5s in a row. Is that being conservative, or is he just a good driver?
I think he's a really good driver. He's starting to get more consistent too. Like I said, I think the win, as I said 100 times before, the win at Talladega really helped him. It really set him and really the entire Hendrick and Chevy camp in the right direction. Chase Elliott has been more in contention for wins, being more consistent, getting more points. Hopefully, if you're Chase Elliott, though, you obviously want to win more stage points and win more races, because that even means more points to start off the playoffs with in September.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's in right now. He's locked in. Barely, I don't think he can even fall out in one way or another. So he's in. I think he's just trying to get stage points or crew points, get himself in a little better position to start the chase. I still call it the chase. What do they call it now? The championships?
The playoffs.
The playoffs. There you go, the playoffs. NBA playoffs. I think he's doing fine. I think Stuart Haas has to step up and win some races just to prove some superiority there on their part. And I think Michigan's going to be a lot of fun. Anything else with Cup? Did I hear that one of the Xfinity drivers declared that he was going to switch his points to Cup to truck racing to try and win the truck championship series today? Was that Custer?
So Ross Chastain, who won the truck race at Kansas, he's going to switch his points over from Xfinity to truck and try to run for a truck championship. Tall order, but I think he's making a really good move here. He's shown a lot of speed in that 45 truck, a smaller team too. brought them to victory lane. Of course, the points from the previous races don't count, but starting now it does. I think Chastain can get that team into the playoffs. He has shown that he is to me, he is hidden talent. Ganassi saw that. Obviously, he was supposed to drive for Ganassi in the Xfinity Series until a sponsorship fallout. So Chastain, to me, I think he can make a run for a Truck Series title. I'm really excited to see how he does.
So that was a good move on his part then. I mean, obviously, you're saying the emphasis is on winning a championship over winning races in the next series up. You think it's more important to win a championship to get yourself elevated to the Cup Series?
Yeah, and obviously Chastain has been driving in every race of every series.
Every race,
yeah. Yeah, so he's really showing himself and really working hard, and I really give kudos to him for that. Another thing I kind of want to talk about is the K&N series as well, and the ARCA series, and the problem they have with the field sizes that they've had as well. So,
okay.
NASCAR can't. Yeah, the Pro East Series race at Thompson Speedway in Connecticut has been canceled. The Whelen Modified Tour and the Whelen All-American were scheduled to race there. They will still race there, but the K&N has canceled their June 15th race there. Tweet from Truck Series driver Landon Huffman. Somebody said, no, it was the track's choice, correct, because it cost $40,000 to being the series to your track, and who wants to pay that and only have a show with 10 cars? Again, NASCAR representatives declined to comment. This was a report from NESN. I saw this talking about this on Twitter, kind of raised some concerns. People on Reddit talking about this. It's going to be interesting to watch the next few years with the ARCA and K&N sort of combined series. So you have obviously K&N and ARCA are going to do like this merger and do a championship run next year. So is there potentially this concern that, from what it sounds like, the Thompson Speedway didn't want to pay the big bucks for a race that only featured 10 cars? Furthermore, potentially becoming too expensive for part-time drivers to field cars in the K&N series. That's what it says here on the article. Well-funded drivers who could afford it are bypassing the series in favor of the Truck Series. And, of course, now you have iRacing as well. You see a lot of esports on the rise, which offers better competition, more exposure. Just as concerning as it feels like this problem won't be solved overnight, will things get better in 2020 when the K&N and ARCA Menard series effectively merge and operate under the same competitive framework? Perhaps, especially as it pertains to fielding more cars and thus giving fans more reasons to purchase tickets. Yeah, definitely an issue I see out of K&N and ARCA, especially ARCA. When I went to the Kentucky race in 2017, not a lot of people were there, and just something interesting to think about with both K&N and ARCA series. A couple small developmental series for a lot of young guys to get their start in, or potentially guys who love to race and they want to find an opportunity to race. We haven't really – field sizes of both series have kind of declined over the last few years, so it's just something interesting that I caught last night and this morning.
Well, and that's interesting. Is ARCA owned by NASCAR, or is ARCA its own individual entity?
ARCA was bought by NASCAR last year, and
they own it.
Yeah, it's now owned by NASCAR, but for a long time,
okay.
ARCA was kind of.
And K&N series is owned by NASCAR. That's a NASCAR series, isn't it? The West Coast and East Coast K&N.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when do the races? Do they run on the weekends? Because I get them taped, and if I DVR everything NASCAR. Anything comes up NASCAR, I DVR it. And I get the K&N races and the ARCA races midweek. Like, I think there's 2 or 3 being shown on Fox Sports today, taped that I'll tape and I'll kind of keep an eye on. But when are the races run? Are they run? Cause you said June 15th. That's a Sunday. When and where are they running these races at?
This race scheduled
general.
For Saturday.
You don't have to be specific. Just in general. Are they not tying him into the package of the weekend, of the weekend experience of parking your camper somewhere and camping out and grilling out and going to a whole mess of NASCAR stuff for the weekend, and that's your fun and games for the weekend? Are they not doing that with this series?
If you want me to take a look at the tracks they've raced at, let's see.
Well, maybe that's a topic for next week. Let's bring that up next week and dig into that and see.
Okay.
Because obviously I think NASCAR needs developmental. They need to keep developing. That's where a lot of these guys came from. You know, a lot of these young drivers are coming from ARCA. They're coming from K&N. I know there's several good female drivers in the K&N series that are running right now that are making names for themselves there. And diversity that's coming in and the opportunity is created. At some point, NASCAR is going to have to just say, you know, we need to fund these to keep our talent pool developing.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't let these races get canceled. So if we got to eat $40,000, and that's a William Byron or a Alex Bowman or a Daniel Suarez or a Bubba Wallace or a Chase Elliott, that's the future of the sport. You know, we're not going to have Earnhardts and Gordons and Waltrips around forever. I mean, the names are going to change.
Yeah.
So I think that for NASCAR to let those things, if they own those and you know, have involvement in those, they need to fund those and make sure that those are used as developmental races to bring talent up and to keep the level of competition. Because I think NASCAR's on a rebound right now. And you certainly don't want to stymie that with saying, okay, our good drivers are leaving us and we don't have young guns coming up here. I mean, you know, you saw what Gordon did to NASCAR when he stepped into the track. He brought a whole new world into that sport. And he took what the older guys, the Waltrips and the Earnhardts and the Bakers and the Pearsons had all done, the Pettys, and he took it to the next level. And that's because, you know, they found him, and he developed himself a lot through sprint car racing and open wheel racing, but these opportunities weren't available. There was USAC stock car racing, but really there wasn't ARCA and there wasn't K&N and things of that nature. So I think it's imperative that NASCAR doesn't let this happen where these races start falling off the face of the earth and we start losing the opportunity to develop young drivers. But that's a show. That's for next week's show. We can research that one and do that next week.
All right. Well, we put that down.
Thank you. All right. We got anything else we need to cover? Michigan's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to this race. It's a great track. You can see the entire track all the way around. High speeds. I think the Cerro package is tailor-made for this track. And we'll go from there. Yeah,
we're going to have a really good race here. One more thing I'm just going to point out. This was announced yesterday. Adam Stern posted this, that M&M's Chocolate unveiling their first ever branded luxury camping experience at a NASCAR race called the M&M's Glamp Ground. They will set up a couple dozen tents in a private area for race weekends at Kentucky and Bristol, which, by the way, Kentucky already sold out that Glamp Ground. The offer goes for $500 for two people, which includes 2 race tickets, garage access, queen bed or 2 singles, private showers and bathrooms, catered food events with JGR folks, fan vision scanner with 2 headsets. Just want to point that out real quick. I think that's really cool that M&M's is doing that, and they're trying this ideal of a Glamp Ground at a NASCAR race. And knowing the fact that apparently it's been sold out at Kentucky within hours is really, really good. Not to mention, $500 for 2 people? That's a good deal.
That's pretty cheap. Well, I don't know in Kentucky. I mean, I've been houseboating in Kentucky before, and we used to go to Dale Hollow Lake and Lake Cumberland down there in Tennessee, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And houseboat like crazy. So I there's a lot of open area out there. So a lot of these Glamp Grounds. I mean, and this is something that Indianapolis has done for 4 or 5 years, where they've done the glamping concept, where they took turn 4, I believe it is, at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and turned it into these luxury tents where they have full electricity, they have big screens. They have, obviously, you can watch the race, closed circuit, watch the race, watch practices, watch everything. They have chefs that come in and cook for you. I think it's a little more than $500 at Indianapolis, but I think it's a little higher package. I think anything that brings more people into the sport, I don't know that I would want to go sleep in the back of my car to go to Kentucky Speedway and watch the NASCAR race, but I had a nice posh bed and it's a fan blowing on me all night and could get up and go out and get some scrambled eggs and fried bacon or something like that. I'd be happy with it. For $500, that's well worth it because I'm sure it includes parking for your car too.
Yeah.
And that's a good deal. So yeah, you're right. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's just not NASCAR coming into the ages and see what open wheel racing's done. But Bristol, I assume they're putting the glamping out somewhere outside of the track because there's no room inside that track.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, they're not going. I mean, most of the cars, their pit stalls or the garage stalls are the back of their rigs because there's not a lot of room in any of those tracks. But Kentucky Speedway will be interesting. I think it's a good deal. That's a smart move on NASCAR's part. Getting the right people in leadership and saying, let's make this a better friendly experience and go from there. Okay. Good news. That's good. And thank you to M&M's for sponsoring that and just trying to give back to the sport. We need sponsors like that on a day-to-day basis. Next thing we got to check into is where we are on the update of a sponsorship for next year. Have they made any more announcements on that?
The title sponsor ordeal?
Yeah. Are they still working on segment?
Let's see. I know they're going
to that next week.
Yeah, they're going to that new sponsorship model. Somebody asked Bob Hockers. There was a tweet I saw asking, is Monster going to be the title sponsor? And I don't see it anywhere. But,
I'm going to miss the Monster Energy girl standing back there with that smile on her face, saying nothing and looking pretty ridiculous, but that's okay.
Yeah, they'll most likely still sponsor a car and be still well involved in the sport since they have the models now. So it'll be all right.
They'll get it worked out. We'll check into that for next week too. All right, last week you picked who to win the race.
Yes. Let's make our picks
I picked Logano. He finished, I think, fifth or sixth, somewhere down in there.
You certainly read my mind.
Yeah. Who did you pick?
I was actually going to favor Logano, but to be fair, I'll pick someone different.
No.
Who
did you pick last week at Pocono? I'm talking about last week's pick.
Oh, that's right.
Come on.
I think I said Kyle Busch or Ryan Blaney.
I think you said Kyle Busch. You got it right. We're one for everything now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a safe pick, too, when you think about it. So, there you go. You said you got
all right,
Logano.
So that was last week. I picked Logano for last week. They had run strong there. Penske cars had run strong at Pocono. You picked Busch. You win. I'm down 1-0 on you. I think that's our first get it right pick of the entire season. So neither one of us are picking geniuses. Michigan. I'll just come out and say I've got Harvick winning the race. I'm staying with my L8 as a dark horse. Running in the top 5 every week, something good's going to happen to you eventually. But I think this is Harvick's track. He's done well on this track, no matter what brand of car he runs in. I think that SHR is hungry as heck, and I think I'm going to go with Harvick to win.
All right, really good choice.
Of course it is.
This
means I'm committing to suicide. He's done. He won't win.
Maybe
not
if we
suicide.
don't pick him, we'll finally win. Isn't that how it usually works? Okay, so for my pick, he's won here before. I'm going to pick Joey Logano. I think that's a pretty safe bet. I think between him or Keselowski, those are good picks, especially that home track for Keselowski. He's yet to win at his home track in Michigan, so perhaps this could be the one. In terms of a dark horse, I'm going to once again go out into left field. I'll go with Daniel Suarez. He's been showing speed in that 41. He's won there before in the Xfinity Series. I think he could bring some speed in that 41 car and perhaps shock a few people. So that's what I got.
Can't fault those picks. I mean, that's Penske doesn't still own that track, do they? Did they sell that? Did he sell that track off?
Well, Michigan's pretty much the Chevrolet and Ford's home ground, so obviously this would be a big deal for them.
Yeah, but I thought at one point in time Penske owned Michigan International Speedway. Did he not?
That's Actually, I don't know about that because
we'll look it up next week.
Okay, because I know Chip Ganassi owned a track, and it wasn't Chicagoland. It was another track that was around for a few years.
Yeah.
Chicago.
I'll look that up. But I thought at one point in time Penske owned Michigan International Speedway, but I could be wrong on that. But I don't. Yeah. But he owned Ontario at one point too, and he doesn't own that anymore either. So I think he sold off all of his tracks.
Well, I mean, he's got his race. He's built such a tremendous racing empire, regardless.
Yeah, well, he's based out of Michigan. I mean, for the most part. I mean, he's always been tied to the manufacturers and things like that in a huge way. So no problems there. All right, let's wrap it up. We've talked long enough, longer than I thought we had time to talk about. There's stuff to talk about, but we usually find a way to eke it out. So you want to wrap us up?
All right, I can do that. All right, guys. So thank you so much for listening to this newest episode of the NASCAR Show here on The Grueling Truth, where legends speak. From Steve Risley and myself, Alex Gray, we're signing off, and we'll see you next time.